Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news, royal bombshell, Laura Lopes, words reignite fears about Camilla's agenda. For decades, Queen Camilla's narrative has been one of public metamorphosis, a meticulously orchestrated transition from royal mistress to proclaimed queen consort. However, a solitary, unguarded comment allegedly made by her daughter Laura Lopes has jeopardized that narrative, rekindling long-suppressed doubts about her true aspirations and instigating a ripple of apprehension inside the core of the House of Windsor. Following years of muted conjecture and unaddressed speculation, Lopes, who has carefully preserved a life beyond the royal limelight, is now articulating the same rumors that palace officials have fervently sought to refute. During a casual discussion, her remarks purportedly revealed insights into her mother's life, generating a flurry of inquiries that have left King Charles III in a vulnerable position and apparently elicited significant anxiety from the Prince and Princess of Wales. The purported remark, "Well, Mom's ensuring the family will soon have their residence," was not an official declaration. It was by all measures an impromptu remark. In the meticulously regulated realm of the British monarchy, where every utterance is measured and every action examined, it has been seen by some as a revelation. This has validated a narrative that has followed Camilla for 50 years. Her ascent was not solely a tale of love and duty, but a sophisticated exercise in strategic positioning, intended not only to secure a crown for herself, but also to establish a lasting legacy for her lineage within the royal framework. What precisely did she disclose? What is the reason for this timing? The repercussions of this purported verbal misstep have compelled Buckingham Palace to engage in a nuanced strategy of damage control, revealed underlying tensions within the royal family, and prompted a critical inquiry regarding the monarchy's future under King Charles III. Is there capacity for two families at the epicenter of authority? This narrative recounts the remark that shattered the palace's meticulously maintained hush and the truth it may have unintentionally disclosed. The Indelible Whisper, a chronicle of distrust. To comprehend the significance of Laura Lopes's purported comment, one needs examine the records of contemporary royal history. For decades, the narrative of Queen Camilla has been conveyed in fragments as scandal as gossip, and for some as a harbinger of dynastic ambition. Long before she entered Buckingham Palace, as queen consort, murmurs enveloped her like a crown, fashioned not from diamonds, but from shadows. These murmurs were never pronounced nor formal, but they persisted, resonating through newspaper articles, elite social gatherings, and even the hallways of the palace. Central to everything was a singular, enduring inquiry: what are Camilla's true desires? Rumors intensified in the 1980s when Camilla Parker Bowles was still widely regarded as the illicit consort of the Prince of Wales. At that time, royal insiders said that she had an extraordinary and significant influence on him. It was said that she could influence his judgments in manners unattainable by any counselor, courtier, or even his spouse, Diana, Princess of Wales. When Diana memorably characterized her marriage as a bit crowded during her pivotal 1995 BBC interview, she was not only referring to Charles's divided emotions. Numerous individuals saw her remarks as a caution. Camilla's presence was not transient, but deliberate and enduring element in the framework of Charles's existence, and therefore the destiny of the monarchy. As the years progressed, the murmurs intensified. The terrible demise of Diana in 1997 created a void and raised fresh pressing inquiries. Will Camilla now emerge into prominence? If she were to do so, would she bring only herself, or would her family, her children, her close associates be entangled in the sphere of royal authority? Each public action she undertook seemed to reinforce this story. The meticulously planned public relations initiative, termed Operation Ritz, aimed to ameliorate her image and present her to an antagonistic British audience. It was a remarkable display of patience and timing. By the time Charles wed her in a civil ceremony in 2005, the most fervent public anger had diminished, although the speculations on her desire had solidified into a steadfast conviction among her critics. They said that Camilla was not only a friend, but a strategist using a long-term approach. The first agreement for her to be referred to as princess consort rather than queen upon Charles's ascension was seen by some as a provisional arrangement, a preliminary phase in a more extensive journey. The coronation of King Charles III in May 2023 rekindled these doubts on an international platform. Although the focus was ostensibly on the king, several onlookers remarked on Camilla's ease in embodying the role of queen and her confident navigation into hitherto inaccessible spheres. She endured controversy, surpassed Diana's formidable legacy in public perception, and quelled detractors who previously said she would never gain acceptance. Nevertheless, the murmurs persisted. Was this recognition, this accolade sufficient for her? Or did she want more? The most enduring of these insinuations, the one that resonated most profoundly, was that Camilla's aspirations extended beyond her own interests. The rumor suggested that she desired not just a throne for herself, but also power extending to her children, her relatives, and perhaps a rival dynasty to the Windsors, a lineage where her bloodline, rather than Diana's, would subtly ascend in importance. This was the persistent murmur, a hunch that haunted her over decades of headlines. It has now been revitalized not by a tabloid journalist or a discontented courtier, but purportedly reiterated by an individual more intimately connected to her than anybody else, her own daughter. What happens when the source of gossip originates from inside the household? A fortuitous admission, Laura Lopes, and the verbiage that transformed everything. The affirmation, if it can be termed as such, did not originate from an experienced critic or a royal commentator. It is said that the information originated from Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes, who may have inadvertently disclosed more than she meant in a single apparently benign statement. For years, conjecture about Camilla's dynastic aspirations had been dismissed as malevolent rumor. However, when the remarks originated from her own family, they had a significance that could not be readily disregarded. The event reportedly transpired in an unremarkable environment. Laura, who has always exercised caution in maintaining her life apart from the royal limelight, was involved in what ought to have been an innocuous private dialogue. She is recognized professionally as an art curator, a spouse, and a mother-a-lady, distanced from the quotidian intrigues of the monarchy. In a seemingly candid moment, she made a statement that immediately altered the narrative of all speculation over her mother. Well, Mom's ensuring the family will soon have their residence. It was not an announcement. It was not presented with any apparent intention to astonish. That was exactly why it resonated so profoundly. The wording implied a more intentional sentiment than just pride. The phrase, making sure, implied intentionality and agency, suggesting that a strategy was already underway. To what location was she alluding? Why characterize it as something her mother was deliberately ensuring rather than as a potential occurrence? The leaked remarks, disseminated rapidly, analyzed by royal observers, journalists, and web forums. Some saw it as a trivial verbal misstep, equivalent to any daughter expressing pride in her mother's accomplishments. Others saw something much more substantial in Laura's casual remarks, an affirmation that the rumors of Camilla's concealed aspirations were not just fabrications, but were discussions occurring inside her own family. The remark's potency stemmed from its origin. Laura Lopes has never been a somebody who seeks attention. In contrast to her stepbrothers Prince William and Prince Harry, she was raised outside the confines of the palace and has hardly publicly addressed her mother's royal position, preferring the tranquility of art galleries over the tumult of media attention. That is exactly why her statement seemed unrestrained, spontaneous, and remarkably candid. For an instant, it seemed like the well-crafted facade of royal propriety had faltered. The fortified walls of Buckingham Palace seemed to fissure slightly, allowing the public a fleeting view of potential events transpiring inside. A lifetime of rumors about Camilla's aspirations now became a voice, one that was impossible to ignore. If Laura's remarks were not only a lapse, they provided insight into Camilla's intimate realm and perhaps her overarching scheme. Interpreting subtext. A family's subdued progression. When Laura Lopes purportedly said that her mother was ensuring the family will soon have their place, it seems straightforward. In the realm of monarchy, where each utterance is scrutinized and every action analyzed, such phrases are seldom regarded literally. The pertinent issue that now arises is inescapable. Was this only an inadvertent utterance, or a revelation that can only emerge from frequent discourse inside the household? To comprehend the significance of the remark, one must re-evaluate Camilla's past, not as a passive participant, but as an active architect of her own fate. For decades, she was undervalued by people who believed she was satisfied to stay on the periphery. Repeatedly, she has shown her capacity to subtly alter the equilibrium of power. From the tumultuous period of being Charles's clandestine companion to her slow and deliberate integration into the royal family, Camilla's path has shown amazing perseverance and clever timing. Her detractors contend that it is not challenging to envision that she may have been subtly but significantly situating her children. In retrospect, remnants of this method are evident. Laura Lopes and her brother Tom Parker Bowles have never had recognized royal status. They own no titles and have no responsibilities. Nevertheless, they have often been accorded prominent positions at significant governmental and familial occasions. During King Charles's coronation, both individuals stood prominently among the family's most senior members. Although devoid of crowns or ermine robes, their presence was unmistakable, a subtle assertion that Camilla's children had transitioned from simple observers to essential components of the new royal narrative. For several onlookers, Laura's purported comment now illuminates these situations differently. Were these just gestures of family civility from a compassionate King Charles, or were they deliberate actions in a broader strategy with each public appearance establishing the foundation for enhanced acceptance and integration of Camilla's family into the royal milieu? Tom Parker Bowles, a distinguished cuisine critic and novelist, has established his own impact. He navigates effortlessly among Britain's elite, establishing connections that go far beyond the culinary sphere. He has eaten with aristocracy, provided counsel on culinary culture, and cultivated a reputation that gives him access to influential circles where connections are as significant as titles. Laura, as an art curator, has similarly established a career in the sophisticated realm of galleries and shows, where customers often intersect with the elite strata of British society. The contrast is stark when juxtaposed with the meticulously controlled public upbringing of Prince William and Princess Catherine's children. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are being cultivated with exacting care. Every public appearance is strategically designed to bolster the perception of dynastic continuity. Their appearance is always deliberate, positioning them as the unequivocal future of the crown in the public eye. Conversely, Laura and Tom's presentations have seemed more relaxed and less contrived. However, such informality may constitute a strategic element, making their presence seem more organic and subtly integrated. Consequently, two parallel trajectories have begun to emerge. William and Catherine exemplify a refined contemporary family poised to ascend the throne. Conversely, Camilla's offspring consistently emerge in the royal narrative lacking titles but possessing significant power. This duality makes Laura's purported error more disconcerting. If Camilla is really ensuring her family's position, then these public displays may have never been ordinary acts of civility. They may have represented significant milestones in a subtle progression, an elevation in obscurity priming the audience for forthcoming developments. The palace in distress. A narrative crisis upon Laura Lopes's statements entering the public sphere. Buckingham Palace had a rather difficult predicament. The remark originated not from a political analyst or a vocal adversary, but from the daughter of the Queen Consort herself. The family connection made straightforward dismissal difficult. Within the confines of the palace where every utterance is scrutinized and every possible public relations issue is meticulously strategized. The pressing question was evident: had Laura just spoken imprudently, or had she disclosed information that the institution had endeavored to suppress? The timing for the royal staff was very unfortunate. The monarchy navigating a precarious position in contemporary society depends on stringent regulation of its narrative. An imprudent comment from a family member not in the direct line of succession constituted a nightmarish scenario. Insider reports indicate that top aides hurried to evaluate the damage. Can the comment be mitigated? Can it be dismissed as mere filial pride? However, the atmosphere behind closed doors was apparently less lenient. Courtiers had long memories, and many were unable to refrain from associating Laura's remarks with the long-standing rumors surrounding Camilla. To them, it seemed less as an innocuous error and more as the inadvertent revelation of a reality too carelessly spoken in a domestic setting. If Camilla was really ensuring her family's position, then the monarchy's meticulously structured hierarchy was being jeopardized from inside. King Charles was reportedly situated in a very uncomfortable posture. He has always shown a strong protective instinct towards Camilla, and by implication her children, who have endured significant public scrutiny during most of their adult lives, although never seeking it. Conversely, he is the monarch, the guardian of a venerable institution, whose principal obligation is to guarantee its continuity beyond his own rule. Neglecting the possible ramifications of Laura's statement may invite allegations of frailty. Nevertheless, addressing it head-on might exacerbate concerns that Camilla's power exceeds constitutional boundaries. The palace eventually proceeded as is customary during periods of subdued crisis, with silence, followed by discreet redirection. No formal announcement was made. Neither Laura Lopes nor her agents provided any correction. The royal communications apparatus promptly redirected its attention to forthcoming engagements and philanthropic responsibilities, striving to obscure the comment behind a multitude of fresh, favorable headlines. Nevertheless, apprehension persisted among personnel and insiders. Once spoken, Laura's remarks could not be retracted. They hovered over the castle like a cloud that no degree of public relations could completely dissipate. In its quiet Buckingham Palace may have validated what many already suspected. The statement resonated deeply. The heirs apparent, a perceived menace to the Windsor line. The royal staff's discomfort with Laura Lopes's misstep was allegedly surpassed by the response inside the confines of Adelaide Cottage and Kensington Royal. The comment not only targeted the institution that the Prince and Princess of Wales would eventually govern, but also addressed their personal anxieties for their children's future. Prince William, having devoted his life to the preparation for kingship, has always shown a keen awareness of familial dynamics within the monarchy. He endured the tumult of his parents' marriage, the infamous War of the Waleses, and saw firsthand his mother's marginalization. He saw the malleability of narratives over time and the manipulation of public perception. Laura's purported statements rekindled a long-standing concern, the apprehension that Camilla's influence may in some manner undermine the supremacy of his own lineage. In William's perspective, the monarchy relies on unequivocal transparency. There exists a one throne, a single line of succession, and one definitive trajectory for the crown. Camilla's daughter, implying that her family would soon have their place, seems perilously near to transgressing those hallowed boundaries. William apparently saw it as a possible threat to the supremacy of his family, the lineage of Diana himself, and most crucially, his successor, Prince George. Princess Catherine's response, although somewhat more subdued in tone, was said to be as worried. She has consistently received acclaim for her capacity to provide stability and tranquility within the royal family. Nevertheless, she could not overlook the ramifications of Laura's error. To Catherine, the monarchy is a delicate, centuries-old institution that endures only through meticulous adaptation. Any proposal for Camilla to establish a distinct sphere of influence for her children jeopardized that fragile equilibrium. Her concern extended beyond mere theoretical power dynamics. It included the possible eclipsing of her own offspring. Prince George, progressively assuming the responsibilities of a future monarch, has been methodically and gradually acclimated to public life. Princess Charlotte has been lauded for her composure, while Prince Louis is recognized for his exuberant charisma. Every aspect of their public upbringing has been meticulously orchestrated to equip them for a life of royal obligation. Catherine allegedly expressed concern that elevating Camilla's children and grandchildren to a more prominent semi-official role may obfuscate the public narrative. Who really embodies the future of the monarchy? The immediate descendants of William and Catherine, or the emerging lineage of Camilla? Externally, William and Catherine have maintained their customary demeanor, composed, smiling, and unperturbed. However, in private, Laura's remark reportedly lingers like an unwelcome visitor. The issue extended beyond her statements. It suggested that Camilla's family may saw themselves not as marginal entities, but as legitimate participants in a future that the public assumed was solely destined for William's offspring. For Britain's future king and queen, it was a consideration they could not overlook. A regal confrontation. The function of the Princess Royal. While William and Catherine's discomfort was allegedly confined to palace walls, Princess Anne's response was apparently far more forthright. Recognized throughout her life as the most pragmatic and straightforward member of the royal family, Anne has little tolerance for errors that jeopardize the crown's integrity. Upon the circulation of Laura Lopes's comment, Anne, as per palace sources, promptly addressed the matter directly. Silence was not a viable choice for her. The incident reportedly occurred not at a public occasion, but at a private family meeting when genuine emotions are expressed in secrecy. Anne, known for her characteristic directness, is said to have requested clarification straight from Camilla. She inquired if it was accurate that the queen consort was discreetly establishing a more official role for her children within the monarchy. Was Laura's comment only thoughtless banter, or had she disclosed intentions discussed inside Camilla's household? Camilla, not one to yield readily to pressure, is said to have asserted her position, arguing that her children were entitled to participate in family events and that their attendance constituted personal support rather than a political maneuver. However, Anne's incisive inquiries purportedly penetrated more deeply. If it were only about familial pride, why had Laura spoken her thoughts with such conviction? Why include the word making sure as if influence were being actively exerted covertly? King Charles faced the most challenging predicament of all. On one side stood his sister, a lady he has always relied upon for her steadfast allegiance to the crown and whose judgment is never obscured by passion. Opposite him stood Camilla, the companion he had longed to marry for decades, the lady he had endeavored to validate in the perceptions of both the public and the institution. For Charles, the decision was excruciating: uphold his wife's honor or safeguard the crown's enduring stability. Insider reports indicate that the session was fraught with tension. Anne reportedly emphasized that the monarchy could not sustain new divides while public confidence is still tenuous. The mere indication of Camilla advocating for her own children threatened to exacerbate narratives of self-interest and jeopardize William's prospective rule. Charles, conflicted, allegedly advocated for tranquility. Although Charles did not explicitly admonish Camilla, some familiar with the palace believe he undertook discreet measures to mitigate the repercussions. In the following weeks, the public prominence of Laura Lopes and Tom Parker Bowles significantly diminished. An unseen force seemed to retract them from the limelight, redirecting public attention only to William, Catherine, and their offspring. Although no formal announcement was issued, the change was to astute onlookers undeniable. For Charles, this was a discreet compromise, no overt condemnation of Camilla, but a calculated move to safeguard the monarchy's future. For Anne, it was evidence that the institution prioritized itself above human relationships. For Camilla, it served as a stark reminder that while her power as queen is substantial, it is not boundless. The clash may remain unspoken, but its repercussions endure an imperceptible demarcation inside the royal family, delineating the limits of ambition. An unresolved monarchy. The persisting inquiry. Ultimately, everything converges on a single moment. Laura Lopes chatting nonchalantly, perhaps inadvertently, uttering the words that provoked a tempest. Mother is ensuring that the family will soon have their residence. Was it really the innocuous discourse of a proud daughter, or did it unveil the clandestine dialogues spoken behind the sealed doors of Clarence House and Buckingham Palace? The remark has already made an impression on many inside the palace. Personnel hastily sought to manage the story. William and Catherine observe with fatigue, safeguarding their children's future and the integrity of the succession. Princess Anne sought clarification, but King Charles was compelled to navigate the untenable position of reconciling fidelity to his spouse with his solemn obligation to the crown. Camilla continues to be as elusive as ever, her public demeanor poised, while her inner aspirations are once again the focus of heated conjecture. However, the fundamental inquiry persists outside the palace walls, both for Britain and for the observing world. What happens if Laura's slip was intentional? What if it represented the first fissure in the wall, an unvarnished insight into a meticulously hidden scheme for years? Could this signify the first chapter of a concealed contest for power subtly opposing Camilla's lineage against the descendants of Diana? The monarchy relies on perception, namely the public's conviction that the line of succession is unequivocal, stable, and resilient. A solitary purported statement has disrupted that assurance. The inquiry now extends beyond Camilla's history to include the future of the monarchy. Was Laura's gaffe just a result of thoughtless conversation? Was that the moment history would commemorate as the day the palace walls started to fissure, exposing the intricate human power dynamics concealed within? The response will delineate the tenure of King Charles III and influence the monarchy he would eventually bequeath to his son. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.